Greetings, IAVA. 'Tis I, Stephen Colbert, fellow American. And I am honored to be reporting for duty via videotape to celebrate this milestone. It's hard to believe that IAVA has been fighting for veterans for 10 years, and even harder to believe that is not as long as the war in Afghanistan. The IAVA's work is especially important to me because I'm a veteran of one entire week of shows in Iraq. Though unlike your group, my service was what I like to call a non-profit. I banked some coin. I had to deal with KBR Halliburton. I'm also a veteran of interviewing your founder, Paul Rieckhoff. Paul has made 4 appearances on my show, this many, making it a close second to the 16,500 times he's appeared on Rachel Maddow. Of course, none of IAVA's achievements would be possible if Paul hadn't started this organization 10 years ago in his studio apartment in Hell's Kitchen, New York. I believe early meetings were attended mainly by him and some bedbugs. Thanks to Rieckhoff, the IAVA has been at the forefront of important veterans issues, from raising awareness of sufficient body armor, helping bring forth the new GI Bill, pushing to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and thanks in no small part to the IAVA, there have been significant reforms at the Veterans Administration, meaning future returning vets can be less nervous about their deployment to America. So congratulations to all of you for a decade of kicking ass. And an extra congrats to Paul on his recent wedding. I am so happy you finally found the right Mrs. Clean. Here's to the next decade of keeping America safe for the people who keep America safe. As you were, if that was good.
All right, we hope you enjoyed your dinner. If you know IAVA, you know that for the past 10 years, Paul and his staff have been tenacious, determined, effective fighters on behalf of the almost 2.8 million men and women who've served in Iraq and Afghanistan since the attacks in this city of September 11th. There's no better way to appreciate IAV's rich history and the millions of lives the organization has impacted than to hear from the veterans themselves. So let's do that right now.
Welcome home, man.
So, filming that PSA was probably one of the coolest experiences in my life. A lot of people ask me, how did they block off the streets? How did they do that? Was that CGI? And as unbelievable as it sounds, the film crew was actually out there blocking the streets off. So what you don't see in the final scene is the 200 people on either side of the road yelling about why they can't cross the street. I think it's also important to note that, I'm not an actor. I lived this experience. I served in Iraq. I was wounded over there. And as many of the veterans in this room can attest, it's not always smooth sailing when you get home. But that's all the more reason that an organization like IAVA is so important. So I just wanted to thank you. It was a true honor to be able to represent my generation of veterans on the national stage.
Well, holy crap. For the first time in history, we got the Marines coming after the Army. Booyah. No. So I got to lead off by saying the only reason I was fortunate enough to be involved in this commercial was that Paul wanted to make sure that I filled the hair quota. He wanted to make sure that the proper representation was there for those of us who have hair that's rapidly running away from our faces. But it was interesting because on that day, New York did not love us for exactly what Brian was talking about. New Yorkers hated us that day. I have never heard more horns going off. But little did I know that this commercial was going to lead to something that allowed New Yorkers to become very involved with a movement that you've been hearing about tonight, and that is IAVA. I will say we ruffled some feathers throughout the process, but I will say it also was more dangerous than Fallujah at times when you're in between New Yorkers and their destination. We learned that the hard way. I remember the very first fundraiser that I was able to attend with IAVA. It was a long time ago, south of here at the Canal Room, and we were trying to raise some dollars, and I believe we had an iPod that we were looking to auction off. We made some good money off that iPod. It was pretty high speed with its little wheel and the clicky noise. But it wasn't as significant as the runner-up prize, which was a date with yours truly. Sorry, ladies, taken. Sorry. Not happening tonight. But at the time, a friend of mine was good enough to step up, and she gave $150, I think is what it was, for a date with me, which was pretty awesome, right? So now I work at JP Chase, and I had our financial, there you go. A fantastic institution that's doing a tremendous amount for veterans, and we got a couple tables here. I invite everybody to make sure to say hi to these folks. They're pretty awesome, all right? But working at a finance firm, I thought for, making a few comments tonight, I would have them look at the cost associated with what we made for that date with me and put it into financial terms for what it is today. Based on depreciation, all right? Based on the overshift of the market and overall financial considerations. Oh, that's upsetting. It's $16.37 is what that date would be worth today. Wow, that's upsetting. So I'll see you guys at the bar later. We can work that out. But IAVA has transitioned through a tremendous amount over the years. But the one thing that has not transitioned has been the staple figure of Paul Rykoff, the leader of this organization, the man who called me up out of the blue in late 2005 after reading an article about me in the Washingtonian and said, hey, I need some help with this cause. I need you to come up. I need you to help me out with this thing. And I said, Paul, whatever you need, I'm there for you. And that's what this man does. He brings people together and he says, what can I have you do that's going to allow us to grow and to empower you and allow guys like me to work at an amazing institution like JP Chase. IAVA wasn't the catapult, it was the Apollo rocket for me. It's what sent me into that next layer of being able to be involved as a veteran and to have a tremendous impact. People like Brian, who are involved with IAVA, now heading up all of the veterans programs at Rutgers. We all have a connection to this institution in some way, shape, or form, and it comes down to Paul's leadership. And I know you're out there somewhere, but man, these lights are bright and I can't see the shiny dome, so wherever you are, Paul, I love you, all right? The last thing I just want to touch on, because I don't want to take too much time, but when I was working at IAVA, I did 2 deployments. I went down to South America. I was on the Colombian border. We didn't find terrorists, but we found delicious chicken. It was everywhere. But then I went off to Afghanistan, and tragically, we did find a lot of terrorists. And it was one of the hardest deployments I was ever on. And I used to call into the IAVA staff meetings from our Iridium satellite phone. And I remember hearing people's voices, and it just brought new life to me. And we Marines are amphibious by nature, and it's a little dry in here, so I'm just trying to bring it back, okay? Need a little more humidity, all right? But on my way home, they put me on that C-19 going out of Camp Leatherneck that was flying me off to get me home eventually. And I got to sit on the very front row where they put the seats of pallets down. And I remember it was the first time I kind of had a breath of fresh air where I said, it's over, it's done, I did it. And on the front of C-19s and other transport aircraft, everybody put stickers up there from their different units and different organizations. And sitting right in front of me was a bumper sticker that said Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. I knew that I was coming home to an institution that was going to always have my back. I knew I was coming home to an institution that had an impact to those that just not when they come home, but also when they're over there. I knew that we were in good hands, and it comes down to the leadership of IAVA, the board, the staff, and most definitely Paul Rykoff, the man, the myth, the legend, the hairstylist galore. Let's give a big round of applause for Paul and everything he's done. And I'm a Marine, so there's actually nothing on here except some crayon, so I'm gonna call it quits on that one.
I don't know how anybody could follow Todd Bowers. All I can say is I'm a former Marine myself, so that's got to give me some credit. In 2008, IAVA spearheaded a modernized GI Bill. And in June of that same year, the Post-9/11 Veterans Education Assistance Act was passed. Thanks to IAVA's relentless work at helping to make college education more affordable for this generation of veterans, I was not only able to finish up my bachelor's degree, but I'm also working towards an MPA program in nonprofit management starting this spring at Baruch College.
My name is Jason, and this is Daphne. We're joining you tonight from our hometown of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. From TroopNet to COV to most recently my IAVA, IAVA has made robust social engagement possible for veterans.
There's no one for whom that's truer than us. In 2009, I met Jason through the community of veterans, and in 2012, we had Jason Hansman from IAVA come out and perform our wedding ceremony.
Good night, my name is Tariq, and I'm joining you tonight from my hometown of Brooklyn, New York. Like a couple of the guys up here, I'm a Marine Corps veteran as well. In 2009, IAVA made advance appropriations of the VA a centerpiece of their Storm the Hill campaign. When I separated from the Marine Corps the following year, the medical staff of the Northport VA in New York provided health care I desperately needed. The passage of the Veterans Health Care Budget Reform and Transparency Act of 2009 ensured that when veterans like myself need that care the most, it will be there for us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy, and I am joining you tonight from Pasadena, California, via my hometown of East Orange, New Jersey. And I have to give a quick shout out because I am Army Strong up here beside all my Marine Corps brothers and sisters. In December 2009, IAVA supported the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And as a gay soldier, not only did I spend 10 of my 12 years in the Army under this policy, but remember the time prior to this when being gay was an automatic reason for a negative discharge from military service. I am so grateful to IAVA for standing up for all of us who have been forced to serve in silence, and also I wanted to send a special shout out to Admiral Mullen for spearheading this campaign as well. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tegan. I'm joining you from my hometown of Madison, Wisconsin. These two right here, cheeseheads. I too served in the Marine Corps. My brother, my father, and I spent a combined 5 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thank you. Over the past decade, IAVA has fostered a strong sense of community amongst its members. In the last year, this has taken shape through our monthly Vet-togethers, where veterans and supporters from around the country connect with one another in their neighborhoods. IAVA members have gathered at a pie shop in New York, and I recently led an ice fishing excursion in northern Wisconsin, which I'm about to do in January. I've found it magical to see the camaraderie that's been sparked amongst my fellow veterans in Wisconsin and nationwide.
Good evening. My name is Quan. I'm also a Marine. Hoorah. Joining you tonight from San Jose, California. In 2012, IAVA launched the Rapid Response Referral Program, an innovative program that connects our community with best-in-class resources in areas including mental health, employment, and education. When I hit the road with Grammy Award-winning band Linkin Park, twist my arm to go that one, met an Iraq War veteran and an IAVA member whose return home was met with many challenges, including 2 suicide attempts. Thankfully, she connected with IAVA's RRP program, and they helped her navigate the VA and, most importantly, saved her life. Last but not least, I want to thank Paul for creating the organization, which has given veterans like myself an area to channel our energies. And last but not least, I cannot help but thank Crystalline, who first told me, and was the first person who told me I was not broken. Semper Fi, hoorah.
How about it one more time for our vets?